Hello and welcome to Bop. That's Bop with an exclamation point. My name is Don McGlynn, and I hope you enjoy these podcasts that are giving you a wide array of points of view from historians and musicians alike. Chris Morris is somebody who's very well known for people who are enthusiastic about kind of all kinds of music. He's probably best known for writing about rock and roll. And like me, we sort of experienced the punk rock movement firsthand. But Chris also loves all kinds of music, classical music, blues. And when I told him I was working on this project, I knew that he would give me that sort of propulsive insight that you need from an interview subject. Chris does not hold back. He just tells you what he's feeling in a very strong, forceful way and in a colorful way. He's a great writer. So, why is Bop so cool? It's so intense. It's so wonderful. I find it very inspiring and full of charm and power and beauty.
Well, the guys who played Bop discovered that there was a new way that they could play. And it was all about taking established parts of the jazz repertoire and working something new out of the changes. And no one thought of that for some reason, but it happened. And it became something new. And also, the Bop Revolution came on the heels of the success of big band jazz. Big band jazz had become less economically feasible. It was harder to carry a bunch of guys around the country in a bus. So the combo became the thing. Similar thing was going on in, I guess what you could call early R&B with Nat Cole and Louis Jordan. Small groups. That became the thing. The music became more focused. The sound became more intimate. And it wasn't about dancing anymore. It was about listening. And so you had this entirely new template for jazz. And a lot of people didn't get it at first. I think a lot of the critics went, "What's this?" You know, I don't think people exactly leaped onto it. And it came up at a very interesting time in American history. The first Bop jam sessions at Minton's in New York were happening in 1943, 1944, in the heart of the Second World War. If there was a period pre-A-bomb that you could call the Age of Anxiety, well, that was it. And it seems that the kind of high-intensity, jittery quality of the music and the kind of out there virtuosity of the music was reflective of a tension in our society that no one had ever seen before. We were fighting a war on two different fronts, and a lot of guys were getting killed, and people at home didn't know what the hell was going on. And this was a very pure experimental expression of great fear, isolation, loneliness, but also it had a will to life. It had a new vitality to it. So I guess it was just kind of the right music for the right time.
And there you got Charlie Parker, and everybody's imitating him, and not always the best of ways.
Yeah, well, because Charlie Parker was the icon of the Bop insurrection, if you want to call it that, a lot of people decided they wanted to be like Bird, a lot of musicians, both in New York and then later on in California. And that entailed using heroin. A real epidemic swept through the jazz world from the 40s into the 50s. Both the entire original group of boppers, including Miles Davis, Fats Navarro, Dexter Gordon, Wardell Gray. These guys were all afflicted with heroin addiction. it became a part of the scene. And then, of course, it ran right into the 50s with the hard bop guys, Lee Morgan and people like that. It was an epidemic. And Bird always said to these cats, I think he's admonished Miles, don't be like me. No, don't do that. He never said, I'm sick, but it was obvious that he was sick, and it made him crazy, and it got him lodging in an insane asylum at one point. But people revered him to such a degree that they followed in his unhealthy and ultimately fatal footsteps.
Do you like any of the big bands from the bop era, like Dizzy or Billy Eckstine?
Well, Billy Eckstine's band was really one of the formative groups. It's not very well documented, but a lot of the major boppers, Dizzy and Bird, passed through that band, and he was Eckstine was a very prophetic figure, I think. Because it was a big band, it wasn't really what we consider bop. I mean, I consider bop to be combo music, but he certainly gave these players a platform. It's kind of interesting to see the figures that nurtured some of these guys. Coleman Hawkins gave Thelonious Monk one of his first recording date. So it wasn't like their ears were closed.
Hey boppers, Kian here, and you just heard the first of a two-part talk we had with journalist Chris Morris. In this episode, we learned specifically what tensions in America in the early 40s Chris thinks were instrumental in the evolution of bop, from both a musical perspective as well as a social one. Bop is produced by Don McGlynn, co-produced by Mark Cantor and Franny Alfano, and edited by me, Kian Vaziri. Stay tuned in 2 weeks for our second episode. Until then, take care and thanks.